Okay, so in this tutorial for the second assignment in digital imaging, subject photography, basically what you're going to be doing is you are going to take a photo of a product or an object or a specific subject of some sort. The idea here is that this would be very useful if you are in graphic design and someone wants you to make a menu, then you'd have to take photos of the food. Or if you're doing something where you have to take photos for packaging of like dog food or something, right? You'd have to take photos of like the dog and the food and things like that. So, and obviously, even when we're working in digital imaging, we're constantly using photos in order to put our work together. So, this is just to get you kind of used to doing that. So, that's what you need to do. So first thing what you want to do is go and get a DSLR. You can use your phone if you want. I will show some examples. Most phones, at least the higher end, like an Apple or an iPhone or a Pixel or one of the Samsung Galaxy phones, they'll have like a Pro mode or something where they actually allow you to change the frame, the aperture, the f-stop. I'm sorry, it was just the same thing. Exposure, as well as the ISO and various other settings, allow you to rack the focus, things like that. Things that you would only used to be able to do if you had like a more expensive camera. So the cameras on these phones have become considerably better. So if you want to use your phone, that's what I did myself because I'm not really a photographer. That's fine. Just make sure when you do it, you try to use the pro mode, that you utilize the entirety of it. Another thing that hopefully your phone has, a lot of other phones do, I noticed that mine does, is that it will allow you to actually take camera raw versions. Some do, some don't. I will show that in class a little bit. But even if you don't, that's fine. But if you can take raw, you might be better off taking that as well, just because it'll give you more options and such. Okay, that being said, I took some photos, and so we're going to work on that from there. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is just open them up. So I'm just going to go File, I'm going to go Open, and I'm going to go to, where are you? Subject Photography. Now, what you're going to notice is that I took a bunch of these photos, and when I did my setting, it took both the JPEG version and it took a .dng version. These are the camera raw versions. So notice that some of them I didn't take in both modes, but notice that the camera raw just looks like this. And the reason being is that by default, most computers, unless you have specialized software, will not be able to see the camera raw. Now, luckily enough, Photoshop has, I guess we'll call it a plugin that does allow you to use those. So I'm actually going to open up all of them because I can't tell what one's what. So I'm just going to grab all of the .dng files. So I guess I have that many. I thought there was more than that. Oh no, there are more. Okay, there, and there. Okay, so I'm just holding Control. You can hold Command and just multi-select. I'm just going to open all of those up. Now, what you're going to notice is it's going to open up Camera Raw, and with Camera Raw, it just gives us more options on how to adjust these. So you can see, my daughter does crocheting. She's really big into it, and these were like little animal guys that she had made randomly. So that's why I chose these. Like, this is a unicorn guy, and this is like a bear with a bow. We'll probably do maybe this guy, just because I think he's funny. He's got his tongue sticking out. So anyway, what you're gonna notice is when you open up the Camera Raw, what you're gonna see is that they have all these options. So they have basic. You can deal with curves, much like you would do inside of Photoshop. Detail, all these things. Okay. For the most part, just for our purposes, I would just leave it on basic. You can do probably most of the things you need to do right there, and you can just make some general adjustments. Like you could do more saturation. Now, the reason why this is better than maybe inside of Photoshop is that this is the raw image, which means that there's actually more, there's more color depth. There's more, it's a more full picture. It's what the sensor actually selects. It doesn't have any compression built onto it. Okay. All right. So that being said, I'm just going to click Auto. And actually, I'm going to select all of them. Click this one, go to this one, and I'm just going to hit Auto on the top here. And you're going to see it's going to automatically make adjustments to all of them. And then I'm just going to grab this one here. And then from here, I can do things like exposure. So I could like underexpose it, overexpose it. Just leave it right in the middle. The exposure is probably fine. Contrast, I think, is mostly fine. I can adjust the highlights. So this means see the bright area here. If I go up, it's just going to make that even more. And if I go down, it's going to make it less, right? So I'm actually going to pull that down because you can see I'm actually starting to lose that information. But it's nice because that's something, if I brought this into Photoshop, that would just be lost information. You can see there's actually a bit more in there. I don't know if you can see it through the video, but there's actually a little bit more in there than what I would have normally have gotten with, like, let's say a JPEG. Shadows is obviously the dark area. So if I go up, that's going to brighten the shadows. And if I go down, it will darken the shadows, right? Now, in my case, I don't think, I'm going to lose a little bit here, but I'm actually going to take my shadows, and I actually want to make that a little bit darker because I actually am going to try and remove this back area somewhat. Then we have the whites and the blacks. I'm just not going to do much with that. I think I'm just going to leave that mostly alone. I don't really need, this will kind of sharpen it a little bit. I guess we'll sharpen it because it's easier to try to blur it out than to sharpen it. And let's up the vibrance just a little bit. I usually just like to pump up the vibrance. So we're going to call that good. And you can play around with these if you want. And if you want to go through and play around with these as well, you can do that also. And I'm just going to go ahead and click open. I'm not sure if this is going to open up all of them or just the one. I think it's going to open all of them, to be honest. And nope, just open the one. All right, good. Okay, so now we have our file. We have it brought in. Let's go ahead and just save this as a PSD just so that we don't have to go through that process again. So I'm just going to do File, Save As, and then I'm just going to put in the same folder. There's the PSD, and I'll just call this my last name underscore assignment01 or 02. Okay, great. Yay. All right, so now we got that going on. That looks good. Actually, let's leave it here, and then just because we did a little bit of camera raw, I kind of explained it when we did it. And then in the next video, what we'll do is we'll actually make some adjustments to make this more of our focus.